Music. Yeah.
Milsurp Garage. All right, welcome back. And we're going to be taking a look at some Mauser rifles today. Todd B, one of my longtime faithful subscribers, was taking a look at the video on the Argentine model 1891 and said that the Mauser rifles in my collection were getting a little dusty and should be we should bust them out and talk about them a little bit. So don't really have anything specific, but we're going to take a look at some books I use for research. We're going to look at a little bit of the lineage going ahead from the 1891. You know, we did just recently bust out a dusty rifle. It wasn't necessarily a Mauser. It was the 1888 commission rifle. And what a debacle that was. I messed up the rifle. I messed up the video. I still left the video posted, I believe, in like full transparency. But what a mess that was. I think it definitely deserves a revisit. But I got to do some repairs and put some attention to some stuff and put that back together. But moving on from there, it was definitely an interesting time for Mauser around when this 1891 was put together, because he was just kind of bouncing back from not being the guy that they went to for a rifle in 1888, coming out with this commission rifle. And with me, there was a lot of learning going on, even just looking to do that video. I had a lot of misconceptions where I kind of thought that they borrowed a lot from Mauser and then just left him out of the loop. But looking at it and researching it a lot, I kind of realized that some of the ideas that came up in the 1888 were stuff that he kind of jumped on and capitalized on as well. It was kind of like a little bit of a back and forth of a learning experience with, as far as who designed what. But moving into the 1891 here, he back then worked with Ludwig Lové. You could see here on this rifle, the manufacturing is Lové. It doesn't really say Mauser on here. And it was like a partnership going on there. I don't know, it's like if you really wanted to, you could probably study, if you were into firearms like we are, you could study the history with firearms. And if you were into like industry back then and German companies or things like that, you could have a whole separate hobby of just learning about companies and history and how that worked and learn about that. It's a whole other realm going on just with what these companies were doing as far as their partnerships and their manufacturing. So since Mauser was busy with some Turkish contract, and I don't have one of those, it'd be kind of cool to show that rifle. I think it was in 1890, a Turkish contract. So Lové took this design to Berlin and manufactured these for Mauser, or for them, so considering they were partnered. And you can see here some differences right off the bat. You see a single stack magazine and an exposed magazine, which is not something that you normally see on these Mausers. And you can see some differences with the bolt. The bolt comes out kind of in the same way. But you could see that we have some differences here. And Look, the stripper clip. Still takes stripper clips, but the stripper clip holder, or the thing that makes this gap here, is spring-loaded to hold the stripper clip in, but also as a bolt retention thing going on here. And the round, this round was designed by Mauser. What is it again? 7.65 by 53 Argentine. This was, here, I just got some, these are snap caps, by the way. Lest anyone get nervous, these are from my lovely supporter, Realistic Snap Caps. I love these things. The Argentine round, let's see, I get some information here. This is pretty interesting. It's this was originally designed for the 1889 Belgian pattern rifle, but it was adopted by Argentina, Bolivia, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Turkey. That's right, because my Peruvian Mauser is now in 3006, but is originally marked for the Argentine round. So if you have a Bolivian, Colombian, Ecuadorian, Peruvian, or the Turkey rifles, the contract from this era was, like the contract that Mauser was working on, was the same 7.65 by 53. And it's funny, it says it was used in sporting stuff and everything till about 1936, and then it's been obsolete in the U.S. since that time, since 36. But it says, with the influx of 1891 Argentine Mauser military rifles, it's having another go-around on the American market. So that is kind of interesting that it's this rifle alone that's keeping it alive, because you do see a lot of these things banging around. This one, I fell in love with this rifle. It was just in such excellent condition. And you do see these in good condition. I don't know what it is. You know, you'd have to really dig through history to see if these things really got beaten up in any kind of serious conflict, or maybe it was just kind of like a mellow time in history. 1891? What the hell was going on in Argentina in 1891? So these single stack loads very much the same. You don't notice much of a difference. You're just pushing them down in a single stack. The huge difference here is with this bolt. Seemingly, it's picking up the round the way any Mauser rifle normally would, but as you can see here, this is cock on closing. Okay, so here's where you're charging the cocking piece back here, see? That's where you're charging. You can see the cocking piece back here. You think you can see it. See that? How you're charging that there? And when you're turning, you're not picking up this round. This round is not connected to the bolt until you charge the handle, and now I'm turning it. See, and as you turn it down, listen. That's the rim being caught by the extractor. And that doesn't happen until you turn the bolt down. So now, even if I don't fire, if I want to eject this round, I've captured it. And I can eject this round and pick up the next one. But I'm not really picking it up. I'm just picking it up as far as pushing it in. I could even turn a little bit, but turn back. I still haven't picked up this round. Until you actually turn down. You hear that click again. So it's a design that doesn't quite last as long as the more modern Mauser designs, which we're going to get to in a minute. Simply because it has to click over like that. And I'll tell you right now, it doesn't do justice to the snap caps either. It kind of chews up the rim a little bit, as you could see there. So I don't really do it too much. Like, you really beat up the rims of these things, which is one reason why, if these were plastic, forget about it. You would never be able to mess around testing function here. You'd tear them apart in 2 minutes. Is the reason why I like to use real material snap caps, you know what I mean? One thing about this design that right away is kind of scary. that this is one of the reasons why they did away with this is, let's say for some reason you go to charge this and I don't know what happens, you're in the middle of battle, you think you didn't pick up a round, or you're having trouble turning down on this round for some reason, the rim is too thick or something. So you come back and you go again. What I did just now was jam that pointy tip of this round into the back of the one that's sitting there. And effectively, this makes for a pretty good firing pin. And that explosion is, especially if you have it shouldered up to your face, is definitely not one that you're going to ever forget. Yeah. Not good. See, and with this guy, you have to struggle to unload unless you literally want to close on every round. It's a less modern design, but definitely leaps and bounds ahead of where they were at the time. Now, right now, what I'd like to do is I want to show you. So you want to poke around, you want to do some research. You're like, okay, that's just a cool bit of information, ready to move on to the next rifle, let's say. But I'll tell you, with this literature, let me show you what I'm talking about. You want to talk about real research here? If Todd wants to dust off some rifles and really get into some stuff, I'll tell you what you need. And I do not have any financial connection to any of these people or books or anything. This is how you got to roll, in my opinion. If you're interested in these different mechanical variations, this book is the way to go. Because this book, the binding kind of fell apart on me here and cracked in half. Some pages came out. But it's one of those kind of books that may or may not fall apart on you. But, the way I look at it, the information's still there. Let's go to the 1891. So here's the 1890 Turkish carbine. This is what it looked like. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the 1891. Now, where are we here? Oh, yeah, so there's only a small bit on this. But here's 1891. Now, here's something with this book that's pretty cool. Let me, can I zoom a little bit? So you see I'm into the 1891 here, and it says, for this rifle, refer to Olson, page 54 to 56, Ball 12 to 15. What the hell does that mean? All right, I'm going to show you. Because this is only mechanical variations, and then he's referring to the two Bibles. When he says he's referring to, how can I get rid of that glare? This one or that one? Looks like that's better. Not really. Okay, so this is Ball. This is Mauser Military Rifles of the World. Now, Ball does it by country. So that's why, so for Ball, it was page 12 to 15, which I think was wrong, actually. Yeah, because that's the 1909 rifle. It really should have been. It's a little mistake. It'll still get you to the right spot, but it really should have been like 9 to 12, really, because that's where the 1891 is. And so this way, you could look up and get your information there. And then there's the dust jacket is put away for this book, because this is an out of print, hard to find one. So I didn't want to mess up the dust jacket. But this is Olson. If you see Olson, so he says Olson, page 54 to 56. Let's do that. And sure enough, here we go. Right away, this is the Turkish Model 90. So you can see this external magazine. This looks a lot like the Argentine that we're messing with right here. And then here it is. Here's the 1891 rifle, the 1891 carbine. You'll know the carbine, it has that end cap that looks like that. I don't have one of those. And then, these guys break it down. They talk about the bolt. This is the early bolt. So, if you see, let me pull our bolt. There's two kinds of rifles when you talk about the 1891. I don't know if I touched on that in my original video, but this is the way to orientate this. There's an early and a late model. The early model is going to have this extractor is going to be 90 degrees from this cutout here and this line that goes straight across. So you can see that's like directly on the top, like 90 degrees. Whereas ours, if you notice, you take a line that goes straight across here, it's slightly to the side, angled. And I don't know, you'd have to read through all this crazy text to really figure out why it is that they did that. Why they angled it like that. And there's also some changes to the bolt here, where they put these ears on the end here. Here and here. And the reason for that was, let's get the books out of the way. Transition back to the rifle. And the reason why they did that is because you see that there's two locking lugs here. So these two locking lugs have to travel down through the receiver here. And there's a cutout in here for one of them. You can see it right there, big deep cutout. But when it gets to the end of its travel, it turns. So it's actually locking up with one lug up on top of this ring and on the bottom here of this ring. On the side, that's all open. So if there's a cartridge case separation here, an explosion that goes wrong and gases get sent this way instead of that way because something ruptures here, it's going to travel right down that channel right to where your face is right up against here to sight down here to look at the sights. So just these little edges right here that they put, these edges are just in there to cover that hole that's there. See it? That's all that's there for. It's just to cover that hole right there to not let the gases out. So that little change like that, as well as, they have issues like when they first come out with them. These magazines, as weird as it is to see a Mauser with a magazine, and you say, but they're not removable. They are removable, believe it or not. There's a little button back here. See it? And that button, you take a round, you put the tip of it in there, and you push, and these magazines do come out. They are removable. And it has a follower here, a spring-loaded follower. But what's interesting is you don't see any other springs. It's actually the side, the wall of the magazine itself is the spring. So when you go to push around in here, see, it won't fit. But watch what the magazine body will do. Watch. Did you see that? Did you see it clip over? Watch. Watch like right over here along the edge of the body. See how it'll separate and capture the rounds? And it works, this system works really well. It really does. It holds them in there nice. And I can imagine if they would have kept this going, they could have come out with cheaper magazines, let's say. Because this is a magazine. This is a 1891. We have a totally separate magazine with a spring and a follower that you could load 5 rounds in. You could load 5 rounds in this, carry it around in your pocket, and slip it into the rifle and chamber around, just as like a modern rifle. Think of, from my 1891, how much they went through with rounds being internal magazines till moving back to, it's wild, right? That in 1891, they had this, but went in a different direction. So these obviously were meant to just be removed for cleaning, but they click in like that, and evidently they didn't click in so well. And a lot of them were falling out or something. So another one of the later model changes was to put this device in there that kind of holds it in there. It's a very rudimentary thing, but probably solved whatever problem they were having. So that was the issue. That was the criteria for early model, late model. So if you see the bolt with the extractor in that area, no wings on here, and without this, you're looking at an early model. This is obviously a later model. So that was 1891. Then they went to the Spanish model, 1893. That's where a lot of the improvements were, but I don't have one of those. But I have the next best thing. We're going to go to a 1895 Chilean. And we'll take a look at what they did here. Again, we're still with Loewe. I think it's Loewe. In Berlin, still. And no more Argentine round now. Now we're into the Mauser designed 7mm. This 7mm Mauser round was the real Mauser round. Everybody thinks it was the 8mm round that he designed. It was not. This was the true 7. This is what he wanted to put in his rifles. And the magazine now, well, first of all, we're going to see the same. It still charges when you close here, okay? Still with that, but magazine looks a little different now. We just have a plate down here, and there's something going on because this doesn't look thin enough. That round is a little off to the side, and then the next one will be a little off to that side. You can see them both in there. It's staggering them now, and it's fitting them all inside. But that's not the biggest innovation. The biggest innovation that we have now is that when we push it to close it, we don't even have to go all the way closed, and we have that round already captured. That is a big deal. As a matter of fact, we only need to go to right there. Halfway closed, we own that round. Oh, well, call me a liar. Let's try that again. You know what it is? It's the speed that I'm doing it. If I would just go harder. See, it's picking up that round way early, and you're able to control it. You have no more of that double. If I open wide enough to grab another round, it's going to eject that one. And if I push this home, there's no way to pick up another one. It's impossible for me to pick up another one and hit into the back of that round, no matter what I do. Oh, look. I was able to not eject this one, but grab another one. But that's just going to be a double feed. It's not going to hit one into the next. You still be able to eject that and pick up the next one. I think the only reason I was able to do that is because it was the last round in the magazine. But it was still a fail-safe, you know what I mean? And you don't have to worry about tearing up the rim. If you look at these, you'll see just from me messing with them, there is no issue. They're not torn up like that, just because you even see the amount of damage that's done to them. I have this round already. When I close, I'm not, see how smooth and quiet that is? I'm not clipping over. So this extractor doesn't have to clip over anything. The round is actually pushed. The round is actually pushed. See it there? It's going to be pushed up and under it. Watch. I did it too slow, see? That's the problem, is that these things definitely rely on real-world energy. Let's try it again. Slow. See that? Gets pushed up and under. See that? It just slides up and under. Nothing has to click over. It does have the ability to click over. In other words, if I was in a jam and I just shoved the round in here, I can push this closed and turn it down over it. I'm not going to do it because I love my original extractor and I'm not going to break it. But it's not technically, it's not made to do that, but it will do that in a pinch if you need it to. But it's not something you want to do. You don't want to be single loading into the breech and closing the bolt on every one of your rounds. If you just go into the range and you're like, stuck in like yesteryear or something, you can't do that. It's better to push them into the magazine one at a time and close them. If you have an open bolt like this, don't just like drop it in here and go like that. Don't do that. If you just have one round and you want to just fire them one at a time like that, just push that one round down and let it go up and underneath each time. Much better. What else? We still have, these protective ears here. See how that carried through? That was a big thing to them back then. And you kind of now say, like, what is the big deal? Why did they pay so much attention to this gas escaping thing? And it doesn't take long to realize that it's because ammo probably sucked. And they would probably, one out of every 10 rounds was probably exploding. Or, cracked cases, all kind of nonsense. I mean, it wasn't like they have the manufacturing capabilities that they have now for mass production like that, Yeah, the quality of things was better back then because they spent more time and a lot of things were handmade, and their attention to detail and the quality of things was better. But one thing that we have a handle on today is more like consistency of mass production. You know what I mean? Whereas like even cars back then, I could imagine they'd come off the assembly line and, a wheel could fall off a week later, because just that mass production, that constant repetitive production of something would eliminate errors. Whereas if it was more like something that's done handmade one at a time, the quality would be better, but you would have issues with things like quality control, let's say. You know what I mean? Because it's not so consistent anymore. And what else do we got? So, we could delve into all kinds of things like the sights and the bayonets for these things and everything, but I think I'm going to do a bayonet video one of these days. I love the 1895. See, so that's basically what the 1893 Spanish Mauser was like. And then in 96, we're going to jump ahead to 96. Well, technically it's like 94, because we're going to do it the Swedish Mauser now. Now the Swedes, they had this guy, 6.5 by 55. No one's really sure who invented this round, who designed it. But it was, it's kind of like the Swedes had a thing back then where they were trying to figure out, are we going with the Mauser? Mauser's making some cool rifles. Back then this was the pinnacle right here. I mean, this is when they were rocking and rolling, man. This design was awesome. It was the most technological, the best. And there were some people pushing for this guy, and there were other more traditionalists that wanted to go with the Krag. They designed this round, and I'm pretty sure they just basically copied Mauser's direction, let's say. I don't think Mauser themselves actually designed this round, but whoever did definitely borrowed the direction they were going in. This is known as a very, very good round too, ballistically, even though it's a very long, skinny bullet. It's kind of weird. Doesn't look like it would be as good as it is because it's such a departure from the norm, but it did work really well. And we have a lot of the same features. I think I have a video up there comparing these two, the Chilean and this guy. They're very similar. There aren't that many differences. The action is basically the same. I see a gas escape hole here that I didn't see before. Plus, it doesn't close on the last round, whereas I don't want to be mistaken here. I'm going to go back. And compare. I'm going to take a look. Yeah, no gas escape hole here. And this will just close on a empty chamber. I was correct, but it's still it is still cocking on closing. And we're going to see that is about to change. But now the Swedes did not want their soldiers chambering empty rifles thinking they were loaded, so they wanted that. We still have the, see how we're leaving the cocking piece behind here and charging the rifle. These are such good quality. It's really unbelievable. And they have a, try to remember the year. It's 1896. And I also have a short rifle, but for the life of me, I can't remember. Let's go to my cartridge book. I'm borrowing from that if you want to know what that is. So here's the Swedish Mauser. It was, I can't find it. I know it's said in here. Which, I'm drawing blanks. But there's a, there is a, this is what I use for checking out rounds. There is a carbine for that Swedish rifle as well. If I said Swiss in there, I do that all the time. I apologize. Please don't leave me any killer comments. Sometimes instead of saying Swedish, I say Swiss and vice versa. I get those two mixed up. That means I have to visit the country. And then I'll stop doing that probably. In 1898, we moved into the Model 98. Yep. You've seen this. I've done videos on this. Differences now. Let's check out the big changes now are, watch the cocking piece back here. On opening, we are charging it. Now it will stay charged through closing and opening, whatever, until you pull the trigger. Pull the trigger, and you drop it. So it charges on opening now. This is a big step. Here's the 8mm Mauser, which was their World War I, World War II round. Very smooth closing now because we've already charged it. So closing it now, you're not cocking it at the end. You used to like be right around here somewhere. You had that push where it was like you had to cock it. Not anymore. Now it just closes smooth. Turns down without having to clip over. So it's just everything's kind of like done in one step now. So when you pull the trigger, your ejection is charging the rifle, ejecting the brass. Now the only thing that goes on, they eliminated anything else happening right now besides pushing the round home, turning the bolt down. So it's like very, like do it with one finger. So that's what they kind of wanted to do. They wanted to isolate that. So now it's like up, charge, eject, and then they just wanted the loading portion to just be the loading. So literally one finger, one finger. And then 1898, so then there's the K98. This is a 1936. They bent the bolt down. Same thing, charging on lifting the bolt handle. So this was the K98K. This was World War II. And same thing. Exceptionally smooth now. Now we really got like the butter effect going on here. Will not close on an empty chamber. And you know, there were some differences through the whole thing with the safeties and stuff like that. But these books now, so I'll show you like with the research. you want to poke around with the research, this book goes in chronological order. Mechanical Variations does go in chronological order. So let's go what we were just doing. Here's the Argentine. And he's going to just discuss mechanical variations. So you see here he's saying this is early or late style model because bang, bang. This is how we start to be able to identify. Here we go. Here's an early and a late bolt. Early or late? Early, right. This is 90 degrees. See it? It's right up here. Early or late? Late. It's at an angle, see? Here. This is what we're paying attention to. So then, here's the engineer's carbine. For the so now here 1891 Spanish. Don't have one of these. Amazing that I wouldn't have one of these. You would think I would have. Or the 93. Here it is. This is I have always wanted one of these. Somehow it skipped me because this was really the first move into the modern stuff, you know. And then again, everywhere you go with this book, Olson and Ball, he's going to be referring you. So you read this and then. It's not like he's trying to not write the book he needs to write. It's just that he's doing mechanical variations. And then if you want to check what the different models for that country and stuff like that, you can supplement. I like that. I like that he does that. And it's not like you got to refer to some index in the back of the book. So a lot of stuff done here on this 1893 because that's where the mechanical changes were. So he talks about it a lot, you know. And and there were some small changes with the Brazilian. They all had their little things that they wanted done when they contacted good old Paul. And here's the 1895 Chilean. And see, this is the stuff. If you're interested, this is where he's going with it. So you see, he shows the different bolt here and how it's going to be the different extractors here. Bolt action of its day by far, because of the most outstanding features was its big, strong extractor and its functional design. I agree. The size of that extractor. But yeah, that mechanical function that I just showed you, that's what he's talking about. This is what this guy will be. Here's the 1898. Already he's up to there. And and then on. Look at this. This book is come on. We don't stop till we get to modern times, and when we first start, we're way back here. And so then, you have Ball, who goes by country. So he's just you just have to bop around back and forth. See, here's Chile, and the Brazilian Mauser. So he's not necessarily breaking down every mechanical difference, but there's some really good, really excellent color pictures, and gives the history of, that particular country's purchase and order, what they wanted. And then Olson, it's kind of like a mix between the two. He kind of bounces around. He shows different variations and stuff like that. But it's like a textbook. Here he is. There he is. You gotta love these books. And then, if you still haven't had enough, my advice is jump into this guy, Jerry Kuhnhausen, Mauser, the 91 through the M98 bolt actions, a shop manual. So what could possibly be different here? Oh man. Now this is the difference between, you could buy a tune-up manual for your car, or you could buy like the book that like shows how to like completely disassemble the engine and every single screw. That's what this book is. This book is like how to do custom work, how to do everything. This really gets technical, super, super technical, with the different parts and different variations of stuff. A lot of good information in here if you didn't have enough at that point. Which brings us back around again to the 1891. So I hope you guys had fun. I mean, that's 40 minutes of Mauserness now, and I hardly touched on anything. That's the thing with these Mausers, especially. It's like, in my opinion, it's better to stay broad, because it's easy for me to make a mistake because I am no expert. So I don't want to just sit there and read a book to you. But I like to discuss the broad spectrum of some of these changes and show where the information is if you want to break down every single little screw and part in manufacturing history. Maybe you want to move in the direction of who is Love and where did he go? How come all of a sudden he disappeared out of the equation? How did they get this partnership going on? What type of manufacturing facilities did they have in Berlin? How involved was Paul Mauser? It's called a Mauser, but manufactured by Love. What does that exactly mean? You might want to move in that direction. Somebody else might not care about the company and all. They're just a firearms purist and they just want to know about just these different designs. This was leaps and bounds ahead of what was before it. But it was only halfway up the mountain. And didn't take long before they got to the top. But this was a huge leap, a huge step forward. But this exact type of design, the way this functions, it's very unique with just a very small area, a small section of the history of Mauser rifles. But that's why this 1891 Argentine is actually it holds a very pivotal place in the history of Mausers, because it was that step towards this next design, like say in the Chilean rifle, that lasted forever. Once they got here, is the Swede here. Once they got here, this was it. This was a design that really hung in there for a long time. And this bolt with this collar here, that was the big difference, is this non-rotating collar that the extractor was connected to. That's what did it. Maybe that's what he was working on. Maybe that's what Paul was working on while Love was out there messing around with business, because it didn't take long after you saw this. It wasn't long after you saw this that you didn't see Love name on the rifles anymore. Now that could be due to changing political climate, where somebody with the name Love living in Germany might not necessarily have been that appreciated, or it could have been that Mauser took a step in a direction that he didn't hold Love's hand when he took that step. Who knows? Who knows? But there's some Mausers for you, ladies and gentlemen. And see you all soon. I'm going to do a video. I I'm up to 3.5K on the subscriptions. So since our last talk about subscriptions, we had 3,000. So we picked up 500 subscribers. Thank you guys. Glad to have you. I'm hoping for a summer of being able to actually do shit. This is terrible. Like last summer, you know, these videos are cool when I can get out to the range. I had some plans to like do some stuff, and like I can't get anywhere with my membership to my indoor range, my indoor handgun range. I just let it expire. What's the sense of me paying 6 months? I paid for nothing, and you know, because I paid for a year membership. It's like, and now we raised the membership. How do you raise the membership when you're looking for, I don't know. And then with ammo, there's going to be nobody there. You should be lowering the membership. But yeah, that's the problems. The problems are ammo, finding a place to shoot that isn't closed. I'm just hoping that this spring and summer is going to be a little bit different. We'll be doing videos regardless, but, you know, I'd really like to get some content of, you know, me shooting stuff and being out there. Well, what are you going to do? But I am going to do a video on the comments you guys have been leaving. You guys have been leaving some pretty cool comments. I don't always get a chance to answer everything, but I promise you, my comments go right to my phone. So, like, I'll be at work, and I'll get, like, I'll look at my emails and I read every single one of your comments. I really do. And it's not so easy with YouTube. You hit reply, it has to load up the video and start playing the video, and then I have to search through the comments to find that comment that somebody left to hit reply. It's so silly. I wish on my phone, if I get an email that somebody made a comment, I wish I could just hit reply and then right there, just type my reply and hit send. But it doesn't work that way. So it's like sometimes I'm at work, I can't have one of my videos like Milsurp Garage in the middle of like where I'm standing because my video starts. I can't have that. So a lot of times it's not so convenient to answer. But I'm going to do a video where I'm going to pull up do one of these every once in a while, where I pull up your questions and comments and I go through them one by one and make a video of it because it's fun. And some of your stuff that you say is funny. And that's it. You all have a good one. And see you all soon.
Yes.